Betrayal creates a profound sense of isolation. The people around you continue going to work, taking vacations, and living ordinary life, while your internal world feels like it has frozen. You watch the sun shine and wonder how the world didn't stop when yours fell apart. Much of the pain stems from what hasn't happened yet. The apology hasn't arrived. The trust hasn't returned. The remorse you desperately expected from your spouse is missing. You find yourself trapped in a waiting room of unrepaired damage, wondering how long you are supposed to stay here. This prolonged uncertainty puts the nervous system on high alert. Your brain constantly scans the environment, demanding answers to keep you safe. You wonder, can I trust him? Will this happen again? What happens to my marriage? When those answers aren't clear, we try to manufacture certainty. We analyze, monitor, and replay conversations. We become fixers. We try to convince, explain ourselves, and accelerate our partner's growth, thinking that if we can just fix the problem, we can finally move forward. But relationships require the active participation of more than one person. You may understand something your spouse doesn't, and you might be ready to repair while they are not. Eventually, you confront a painful but freeing reality. You cannot do another person's emotional work for them. We often fall into the trap of control, which asks, how can I make this person or situation become exactly what I need? This is an exhausting attempt to force honesty, empathy, or a specific recovery timeline onto someone else. The alternative is agency. Agency looks at the unchangeable reality of the present moment and asks a different question. Given the reality in front of me, what choices are available to me right now? Shifting from control to agency allows you to set boundaries, seek support, and regulate your own nervous system. It ensures your healing and your life do not have to pause indefinitely while you wait for someone else to change. Even as you start making choices for yourself, healing can feel incredibly frustrating. You might encounter anger you thought you had processed, or a sudden trigger might bring back a wave of grief you hadn't felt in months. It feels like you are moving backward. Susan Anderson's swirl model of abandonment recovery helps explain this. The stages, shattering, withdrawal, internalizing, rage, and lifting, do not follow a straight line. On paper, it looks like a loop where you circle back to the exact same pain you started with. But if we tilt our perspective, we see that the timeline isn't a flat circle at all. It's a three-dimensional upward spiral. You might be circling back to the same emotional coordinates, but you are arriving at a higher elevation. Ask yourself how you are responding this time. Maybe you recognize the trigger sooner. Maybe you established a boundary, reached for support instead of isolating, or regulated your nervous system in 3 hours instead of 3 days. You encountered the familiar grief again, but you met it armed with new tools and awareness. Circling around higher isn't a regression. That is exactly what progress looks like. Trauma has a habit of pulling our minds in two unproductive directions. It drags us backward into the memories of what happened, and it throws us forward into catastrophic anxieties about what might happen next. Both directions pull us away from the reality of the present. To interrupt this cycle of rumination, we can use a cognitive tool called a weather check. This forces the mind to stop replaying the past or predicting the future, and instead evaluate the immediate environment. You do this by asking specific, grounding questions. What is true right now? What evidence do I have today? What does my body notice? And what requires a boundary in this exact moment? Acknowledging the current reality doesn't mean you approve of the betrayal. It simply means you are looking at the facts clearly. You are building a solid foundation of truth so that you can make empowered choices about your next steps. In the aftermath of discovery, betrayal often becomes an unwanted organizing principle for your life. Very quickly, everything revolves around what your partner did, what they aren't doing, and whether the marriage will survive. Eventually, healing asks you to shift your focus toward what you want to cultivate for yourself. Think of this as your internal greenhouse. You begin to ask, what belongs in my life, and what do I want to create? Tending this space means nourishing the parts of you that trauma dimmed. It involves pruning away the dead weight, protecting your vital energy, returning to things you loved, whether that's music, gardening, service, or simply dancing with your children in the kitchen. Removing the source of pain is a beginning, but the work of recovery is found in the active, deliberate restoration of life and joy. As you begin to rebuild, the way you wait changes, and so do your spiritual pleas. Initially, prayers are outcome-based. Please change him. Please fix my marriage. Please take this pain away. These are understandable desires, but they rely entirely on another person's choices. Over time, those pleas can evolve to focus on personal capacity. Instead of asking for a fixed outcome, you might ask for the wisdom to respond correctly. Instead of demanding the entire map, you ask for enough light for the next immediate step. You may not know the ending today, but you might discover that while you were waiting for your circumstances to change, the waiting itself served a purpose. It became the space where you practiced the daily skills of discernment, agency, and self-trust.